Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to another episode of the Crease Dive. And I am your host, Matt Nestler. And joining me today is fucking me, baby. It's just me. I'm kidding. We got Terry Foy coming on a little bit later. We got a little bit of Nest in the beginning here. And we will have a 48-minute interview with Terry where we dive into the Lars situation. We dive into the Twitter situation, the Nest coming in inside Lacrosse a little bit, inside Lacrosse's version and view of how they reported it and Terry's view. Very, very good conversation. Very informative for all you lax junkies out there. I think it'll be super cool for everyone to hear. I think we handled it like gentlemen. I tried to make sure he knew how I felt. Some of the reasons I said what I said and part of the reasons that I kind of snapped on Twitter a little bit towards him, and we hashed it out like gentlemen. So it was good. I don't want to spend too much time kind of spoiling what we talked about. Pardon me there, But it was very good. I'm excited for you guys to get there. I do want to go over some things prior to the episode. I mean, first off, I want to talk about Lars Tiffany and just a little bit on how that story broke before I get into it with Terry. So my version of the story, which I tell later, was that it came across my desk. I kind of threw out a vague tweet. I didn't want to be the guy withholding information from people. Double-checked, triple-checked, sent out a couple extra texts, and decided to go public with it. Felt very confident that my guy was giving me the correct information. And so I stuck with it, stuck to my guns, and just kept riding. In the midst of that, I got caught up in probably being right. And one thing I wish I had done a little better is definitely given Lars a bit of a, hey, tip of the cap, legendary coach Lars Tiffany done at Virginia. I kind of thought that just spoke for itself. Looking back on it the same way I looked at other people's tweets, some people could probably look at my tweets and be like, yeah, he's kind of just dancing along on Lars's behalf there. And that wasn't the point of my tweets. I think I stick by all of my tweets from the very beginning to when the news officially broke, the Inside Lacrosse and all the fellas that made it official outside of Nest. But I want it to be known that besides not being I'm not a Virginia fan, and I'm not like a diehard Virginia fan, but I always found myself rooting for the Cavaliers. Former Cavalier myself, for those watching on YouTube. So I was confident. I didn't feel like I needed to address how legendary Lars was and what he's done for the University of Virginia and what he's done in his lacrosse career. I kind of just took that as fact and thought everyone kind of thought that. It's probably a little hand-up situation there on Nest. But listen, we're living, we're learning. Lars is a great guy. If Lars wants to come on the pod, come on, Lars. Let's just get it all out there for the people. Keep it clean and easy. I'm sure he definitely does not want to do that. Probably not the biggest fan of Nestler's. That's okay, though. That is okay. I'm a fan of his. And I'm definitely a fan of the Milan brothers. The reason I'm a fan of the Milan brothers is because those guys have God-given talent. Those guys are very good at the sport of lacrosse. They're young kids. They're catching a lot of slack right now. I'm trying to figure out, doing some research with current players, alums, trying to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, temperature in the room. But there's a lot of people pointing a lot of fingers, and I need to clarify something here. The chatter about the Milans is coming strictly from the burners and the social media and the online takes. And I just think it's a little unfair for the kids in the situation to be catching a lot of slack. That's why I'm reaching out to current players. That's why I'm asking current players to reach out to me. That's why I'm asking alums to reach out to me, and I'm reaching out to alums. Is because I want to get the full story of what really is happening behind the scenes. I think when I originally recorded this, I kind of made it seem like my intel that I was getting from alums and players was that they were pointing at the Milans. I want it very clear that finger pointing, I think, is coming from social media, and I wanted it on record. I'm a fan of the fellas, the brothers. I'm all in on the brothers, and I will stay. I will stay there until I need until otherwise, until I need to step down. But I'm a fan. Brendan Millen, special. McCabe Millen's unbelievable. Guest of the Crease Dive. If either of them want to come on and share any inside intel or stick up for themselves to the world that's free. I mean, they got no reason to, but I can't help but address the elephant in the room that social media and a lot of people out there are kind of ganging up on the Millens a bit. So I'm not going to, but I just want to clarify that, slip that in here real quick, and back to your regular schedule programming, and specifically more so at that group, the Millen group. And I just want on record that I'm a fan of the Millen brothers. I'm a fan of their game. I think Brendan Millen has the ability to be the best player in the country and potentially already is the best player in the country. He is special beyond his years. I'm putting him immediately ascending him into the CJ Curse category. He's just taken that jump. With that being said, everyone in their mother's saying a lot about behind the scenes this, behind the scenes that, point fingers at the star players. I'm trying to find a way to tell the story of both sides. I'm working on trying to get reliable sources, people that have been through the program, people that might potentially still be in the program. Whether you're one of the players that was sitting in the meeting with the AD trying to get Lars out, or you're one of the guys that would do anything to bring Lars back, I think if you have thoughts, if you have opinions, if you think stories need to be told or shared, I'll be your guy. I'll die on the sword. My Cavaliers are dead. Let's try to keep the Virginia Cavaliers alive. Let's tell the whole story, hash it out, and we go from there. I have no problem giving the unfiltered truth. I find it hard to believe that we're going to get it somewhere else. And by the time this podcast comes out, I will have already worked on this. I will have already done some more digging. I'll already have taken that next step. I don't know how we're going to do the tell-all, but we're going to tell all. Nestler's going to try to tell all. Nesty Scoops, Matthew Byrne Nestler, full legal name, for all you honeys out there wondering. But I want to tell it from the players and alumni point of view. I think they deserve the most not only deserve to tell their stories and opinions and thoughts, but they're the ones that know. We can hear all we want from the coach's friend and the parents' friends and the parents and the, alumni's buddy and, the Twitter burner that says he's an alumni. There's so many different one-offs and people that you can take what they say. But when you talk to a player, when you talk to an alumni, and they tell you in confidence, don't put my name on this, but this is what's going on. And then you hear from someone else a similar take. And I'm starting to get, when I get multiple takes, I'm putting in my head, that's verified to me. I'm trying to double cross everything. I'm trying to make sure I'm not running with any bullshit. This is a fun story. This is an in-depth story. It's a mess behind the scenes. Whoever thought there was smoke, there is fire. It is fucking flying behind the scenes. I don't want to be the guy that's like, I have a secret. Like I said in the beginning, I have a secret I can't tell you. I don't want to be the guy that spreads false information. So I am diving very deep here and taking as many accounts as I can to see where this story ends. I would say by the weekend of the Final Four, this episode is releasing Thursday. By the weekend of the Final Four, I will either have another episode out or be working on some sort of writing piece about it. Most likely going to be an epi for Ness. Tons of notes, barrel through it, maybe bring on an anonymous guest, pull the Anon curtain down. It's Lars Tiffany just right in your fucking mitt, sitting in the flesh. But I want to make that clear to people that I'm open to telling this story. And I want the truth to be told, and I want to know the truth. I think I know it. I'm fairly certain I do, but there's a reason. There's a reason I haven't reported on it, and there's a reason I don't think anyone has. Is because there's just so much bullshit, and it's juicy. It's fun. If what I'm hearing is true, it blew my doors off. And I'm not trying to yank chains. It blew my doors off. So if I can verify what I've been hearing from a few more sources without asking them, if they come to me and tell me their version of the story, then I feel confident I can bring that story to light. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for you guys to hear what Terry and I get into. Shout out Lars Tiffany. I'm hoping he gets a killer ass job, and whoever gets him is going to be unbelievably lucky. I mean, I've heard unreal stories about Lars, good, bad, in between. He's an interesting cat. I like interesting cats. I'm a weird dude myself. I'm a lax junkie. I'm willing to bet my life he's probably more of a lax junkie than me. Love how I had to slip the probably in there. Just a pride play right there. There, here. Doesn't matter. This is the part where we get a little delusional. Here. So let's go through a few notes. We'll get you to Terry Foy. If you want to skip Nestler and the nonsense of the chatter, feel free. You can skip right to we'll call it the 25-minute mark. 25-minute mark, Terry comes on. If you skip to the 25-minute mark and it's not there, well, that sucks. I lied to you. You'll find it. It can't be that hard. It's not that long of an episode. Love you guys. AI should have it in the details somewhere. So we talked about the rumors. We talked about Lars. We talked about there being tons of rumors, what I want to do with the story. Alums and players have the truth. I'm reviewing I got my solo notes here. I come prepared for you guys. Always do. Sort of. Today I definitely did. Oh, breaking moves. Breaking. Woo, wee, woo, wee, woo, wee, woo. That'll be our news horn, I guess. I'm going on the radio. Sirius XM radio. Nesty Radios. Video killed the radio star. Something like that, baby. That's me. I'm going live on the radio, 11 a.m. Saturday. It's going to be straight juice. I might break the story live on Sirius XM. I might go full nuclear, animal to the dome, live on radio, no turning back, all bridges burned. It would be insane to go nuclear like that on the radio. I'm not going to, maybe. But Sirius XM College Sports Radio, 11 a.m. I will get the channel and more details. We're going live on the radio. I hope they have a kill switch. Because, I know I'm going to get heated knowing I'm live. It is funny. There's no shot. I'm thinking maybe 4% of people listening to this have Sirius XM radio. Can even access this. But there's going to be a lot of people out there who are just listening because they're bored. Not that they have no idea I'm coming on. Just random dudes in the sticks of Tennessee. Just going to hear me. 11, 10 a.m., whatever time it is they're East Coast. Way to look at a map, Ness, all day. But I'm excited to be on the radio. Excited to spew my nonsense, the truth. But I like to spew. I like to talk. A lot of rambling. So I'm very excited about that. I will not be down in Charlottesville. I will not. I'm boycotting lacrosse. No, I'm just kidding. I plan to see my family. Got a buddy getting engaged again. Last week an engagement, another engagement for Ness. Everyone's falling in love. I'm not. That's okay. It's fine. I love you guys. You love me. I love the game now. It's a good life. I could use we don't need to dive that deep into the brain, do we? Maybe. But no, it's lacrosse. Let's go through the pick'em and then talk a little championship weekend, and we'll get into the Terry interview. Before I do the pick'em, gotta do a Cabrini shout out. It's coming up, 7-year anniversary, 2019, one of the most legendary years in lacrosse history, just without a doubt. We're talking about Lars Tiffany. We're talking about the Cavaliers. You can't talk about Lars Tiffany and the Cavaliers by leaving out the Cabrini Cavaliers, who won the day before on basically their home turf against Amherst. All you Amherst listeners out there, suck it. Absolutely suck one. That one felt great. W for the fellas, getting absolutely tossed around the locker room. Beers, domes, dab pens, ounces over your shoulders. Full expose of the Cabrini boys. So sick. Coach comes in, blah, blah, blah. We're legends. And he just goes, season's over. Do whatever the fuck you want. Sure, Coach. We will do whatever we want. Thank you, Coach Colfer. Earn, not given. Be where your feet are. Love my Cabrini boys. 7 years. Cannot wait to see some of the fellas soon. 10-year anniversary. We will be on the turf for the fucking – they do the honorary John. That'll be us. Bongs will be on the field for that. That's a Nestler guarantee. D3 shout out all the D3 grinders out there. I just know they're just fighting for their lives. I'm rooting for RIT in the championship. Rooting for the Guggs family out there, the local Twitter legends to me in my Twitter circle. Everyone has their own Twitter circles. Mine, they're part of. Both father and son cheering for brother. So shout out those guys. Shout out the D3 guys. Shout out Connor Jerez out of Salisbury, whose career came to an end. Unbelievable guy. Unbelievable. I believe 2-time All-American, potentially 3. Dude just stuck his neck out to ride for the Cabrini boys one last time when he could have gone to some D1 schools were calling, some D3 schools were calling. He said, no, give me one more ride with the Cabrini boys. So shout out Connor Jerez. His career came to an end. Unbelievable run out of you, Hezzy. Shout out Bear Evans. Career came to an end in York. Legend. Went from Cabrini to York. All-American as well. Shout out Bear Evans. That's an unreal play. So shout out the D3 grinders out there. There's your D3 minute. Everyone else suck one. Like, I love you guys. You're gritty. I promise I care and think you're gritty. Without Cabrini, I'm not watching you play. I'm not. I can't. You want me to watch it, you got to send me tape. I'm not popping on. I'm not popping on Bowden versus fucking Bates. I'm not popping on the NESCAC championship. No offense to, coach up there, Tufts and Mac Bradle and those boys. I know the talent's there. It's good lacrosse. I just don't give a fuck because what I loved about it is gone. Like if your favorite NFL team was gone, they didn't relocate. It was like, nope, gone. Your favorite team's the Steelers? Well, they're the Jets now. That's what happened. That's basically what fucking happened to Cabrini. No offense to my Jets fans out there. Shout out Phil Nestler, number 1 Jets fan. And Hayes. Fuck you, Hayes. But I think it's important to give the D3 guys a shout out, but it's also important to acknowledge, like, I'm better than all of you, all right? The Cabrini's better than all of you. And 2, it's just not the same. It's empty to me. It makes me sad. It's like, it just does. It's like driving by your old house. That sucks too. Let's dive into some lacrosse games this weekend. Going down to Charlottesville. First time ever. Maybe someone needs to fact check this. Is this the first time it's ever been hosted at a college stadium arena? It's being played at the football stadium, which makes sense. Originally, I was like, damn, seemed like a really good opportunity to play at Klockner. But then I kind of very quickly realized Klockner probably holds about 10,000 people at most, I would have to guess. I mean, how much can they possibly hold? So it's playing at the football field. We're rambling. Let's dive into the games before we get to the interview. Keep talking about the interview, Ness. They know it's coming. You fucking idiot. Duke at Princeton. It's not at Princeton. It's in Charlottesville. Did the same thing last week. Realized it way quicker this time. It just happens when I read it. It's always like away home. I'm on Inside Lacrosse's website, actually, funny enough. There's fucking ads all over my screen. I'm just kidding, Terry. I'm just kidding. There are, though. And I don't not like it. I don't know. Ads are fine. I'm fine with ads. I'm not going to bitch about ads. Duke versus Princeton. I think Princeton wins this game. I think Craddock is unbelievable out of Princeton in the cage. However you pronounce his name. I'm not a big name guy. I think Duke's dangerous. Like I said this since the beginning. Duke has the ability to win the national championship. It's the reason they're here on Final Four weekend. I think Princeton's a little bit more of a wagon. I think Colombo brings the juice. I think the big-time guys come out to play, and I think it's close. If I had to guess, digging deep past my brain, we're going to go 13-11 Princeton. Barn burner, by the way, pull away late. I don't have a ton of, notes on why I think that's going to happen other than gut feel. At this point, anything can happen. If Duke won by 7, I wouldn't be surprised. If Duke loses by 6, I wouldn't be surprised. If Princeton wins by 2, if Duke wins by 2, same thing in Cuse Notre Dame. Any of these 4 teams can beat any of the other teams. So it's kind of just like, who do you like? And I think I like Princeton a little bit more. Grandpa went there, so any Duke fans out there bitching, it's family. It's family. Princeton's family. Jersey school. Shout out my grandpa. Said he was talked about it last episode, but shout out the Tigers. We're going with the Tigers. Lock in, Ness. Cuse versus Notre Dame, not at. Garnsey, you're going to hate this. Sorry, brother. Chris Conlon, sorry. All you legends, Kavanaugh brothers, all you guys over there at Notre Dame, the Notre Dame faithful, the alums, the coaches. You get your heart ripped out this weekend by Spallina. He finally brings Syracuse back to the finals. Jimmy McCool, the coolest name in lacrosse, the smoothest cat there is. Composure, composure, composure. He's going to stand tall. They're going to get it done. Earn your beers, Q's. I'm going to have to shoot Garnsey a mean text. Maybe get in Chris Conlon's head a little bit. Maybe shoot Mr. Conlon a text. Maybe I'll shoot Mr. Conlon. But we'll see. I'm excited about lacrosse. It's going to be a deep melt sesh out of Ness. Games are going to be special. So just get your edibles ready, get your beers on ice, get some burgers. If you're on the East Coast, weather's not going to be great. You got to dial it in and find good vibes, some good music early. You're going to be inside, maybe bowling. Everyone maybe go get some bowling in Friday night, potentially Saturday morning. But don't be bowling at 11 a.m. Don't be fucking doing anything at 11 a.m. because I'll be on SiriusXM Radio, College Sports. College Sports, SiriusXM Radio is probably how they say it. Sounds cool. Sounds great. I'm excited to be live on the radio. I'm excited for you guys to dive into this episode with Terry. I don't want to just ramble and keep you here just to hit a certain amount of minutes. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna let you watch, let everyone enjoy, and you're about to get true journalistic integrity. More's coming about this story. I don't want people to think I'm full of shit and that I'm gonna talk nothing. I'm really trying to make this a fun, interesting story. I don't go searching for scoops, nor have I ever. I've come across a few in my life, and I'm happy I came across this one, and it feels good to be one for one. But I wanna tell this story correctly going forward. It's not about the initial scoop now. It's about what really happened and what didn't happen. And anyone close to Lars who wants to give his point of view, if Lars Tiffany, if there are people close to Lars who want to talk about how it went down behind the scenes and how he feels about the athletic department, the university, and the team, I'd be happy to take that as well. I know deep down they're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I'm very confident that the alums and players are ready to talk, and the DMs are humming for sure. You tell people to DM you all the time, and no one ever does. It just takes one time for people to listen. They start pouring in. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. Shout out all the legends. Shout out all the lax junkies that are tuned into this stuff. It's got me fired up. I hope it's got you fired up. And it's Nest. That was me, baby. You're inside my dome. I'm going to just fucking lay this one off the glass. And other Nest is about to grab it, slam you home with Terry Foy. Had to hold my ground. Didn't want to bring Terry on here and just shred his cheeks. He's done a lot for the game. I talk about that right when I bring him on. And we're both grown men. We can have a conversation. It's not going to be a Nestler dunk off the next 48 minutes, but it's going to be a very cool version of a good tell-all between Terry and I Tuesday night, May 19th. So lock in. Grab some bevies for the next 48. Turn up your volume. Hopefully I got the volume all set. And love you guys very much. Appreciate all you guys tuned in. And let's have some fun the next week and soak in those last two days of lacrosse. 3, include the D3 boys. Sorry, fellas. But just soak it in. Let's have a good weekend. Drink your water. Stay safe. Don't do anything fucking stupid this weekend. Tell your boys you love them. Call your parents. And get a lot of sleep. Good advice, Ness. Love you guys. Enjoy the interview with Terry. Coming up next, baby. Woo! That's right. We're back, baby. We're back. If you made it this far in the episode, you are dialed in, ready for some fun. I got Terry Foy joining the pod tonight, the CEO of Inside Lacrosse. Local scumbag. No, I'm just kidding. He's a good dude from what I know. He's done a lot for the sport of lacrosse. Inside Lacrosse has done a lot for the sport of lacrosse. However, we have some stuff to discuss tonight. We have some swings to take. We got some nitty-gritty stuff to get into just about the whole story. I think this will be real good tell-all for everyone that's a lacrosse rat. If you're listening to this, you're a junkie. But, Terry, I do appreciate you coming on the pod, and we can just hash it out like gentlemen.
100%. This feels like the beginning of Step Brothers. Like I'm a goalie who also likes beer and making lacrosse content. So there's more that unites us than divides us, Matt.
That's very fair. It's very fair. The issue is I've slowly, our interactions the last 2 days, I've gotten the feeling that I was gonna like you, which sucks because I wanted to hate you just right off the rip.
Do you think that your listeners are like do you think that if this ends cordially, A, they're going to be pissed, and B, they're going to like call you like a pussy for not coming at me hard?
Someone will, but I have just a pussy wouldn't come with 3 pages of notes ready to discuss. Yeah. This is called being a gentleman. I have my opinions. I feel strongly about what occurred the last 2 days, but I'm also, again, I'm a grown adult. I like discussions. We're in this media space to have discussions. I think it's way weirder to just be an angry fucking elf all the time. So why not hash it out, say what we got to say, and discuss the whole story. And if people want to call me pussy, it's fine. I'm going to be called pussy one way or the other. But I think they'll be proud of the next 20 to 30, however long you want to stay, minutes that we go here. I think it'll be a good time. I do think it'll be super informative for people. I'm excited to learn stuff from you, and I'm definitely excited to give my unfiltered thoughts because those guys at TLN cut half the podcast out that I did with them last night. They cut Dukes' part out. If you're listening to both those pods, tweet at Lacrosse Network and tell them stop editing out the juice. They have the juice. Now we're going to get it here on the Crease Dive. Let's take it.
Let's go.
They had it first last night. So we can just I do. Anyone watch on YouTube, there's not a lot of viewers. We get, but there's a lot of listeners. The viewers are gritty. This isn't a viewing podcast. I'm not good to look at, but there are people looking. If you see me looking up, I don't have a projector. Knicks Cleveland. I'm not a diehard Hoops fan, but it's playoffs. I'm going to turn on. I'm going to watch. So for those watching, no, I'm not reading a teleprompter. All right, I have my notes.
I'm doing the exact same thing, but you might not know this about me. I'm from Cleveland, so obviously I'm a Cavaliers fan. So I'm invested, and it's just another source of division. Because you're from North Jersey. I assume you're a Knicks guy, right?
So like I'm not. I don't really have a squad, so I don't want to think I'm a Knicks fan. But I'll root for the guys. I'm rooting for joy. Sure. Like it's the cities. I'm in Hoboken.
Well, then you're absolutely rooting against James Harden. Like, I am a Cavaliers fan, and I'm rooting against James Harden. So, again.
I sneaky kind of love James Harden. I love people that everyone kind of hates. That's, like, kind of my thing, I've realized. Is if most people hate on a guy, I'm, like, in his corner. Just immediate foxhole. So that's why
I thought you were going to be like, I love strip clubs, so that's why I'm a huge James Harden fan.
Exactly. Correct. Which me and James Harden, we'd get along great on a Saturday night.
For the culture. All right. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to ask you is looking back, time right now, 9:42 on May 19th. Do you think, not to you, Braden Soy, but do you think that I broke the Lars story to the public first?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great that makes me feel good. Did you think I did when you guys released the Inside Lacrosse article announcing he was officially done? Or basically the question I'm asking is, have you felt the same about my tweet from the beginning, or is the last day or two been like, maybe he did break it looking back on it, is really the first question.
So let me answer the question in 2 parts or 2 ways. The story as it exists now traces a timeline for how the information became public, right? So you probably won't fully accept this, but like my goal in the moment was to beat the press release. So like that was what I was fixated on. So like, and I had a story like 2/3 of the way written when it got announced. And so I was disappointed about that. which kudos to them. That, for as bloodless as their treatment of Lars at the end of his tenure has been, it was clean, right? It had like a Breaking Bad-esque execution style to it. But with that being said, obviously I came to the conclusion that it, was both fair to you and a appropriate way to tell the story to include your tweet. But the way that I conceived of it in the, 10 minutes around the 11 a.m. mark, I wasn't there at the time. But that was just like an oversight on my end.
No, that's that again. I get it. I now I get it because this is my first time ever being involved in the game. I'm excited, but I think it's important to acknowledge that and kind of where we're at now. And then I look back on it, and some other questions I have are like, when it comes to giving credit, like you reached out or I reached out to you. We had gone back and forth on Twitter. And then I'd gone to your DMs, and I think I had mentioned coming on the podcast. And you were like, sure, here's this. And then you had sent me the updated article, which I was like, perfect, awesome, got some credit from Inside Lacrosse. Kind of just wanted a hand up, like, yep, he got that one. At what point when you were talking to the agent were you like, this guy, like, was that the first time you had ever spoken to Lars Tiffany's agent, was in that moment?
No, I mean, there's an article on Inside Lacrosse from 3 years ago. I've known John Colin for like 7 or 8 years.
So, and what's his name? Sorry, I didn't get his name.
Yeah, John Colin, Colan.
Okay. I might need.
He also, for what it's worth, reps John Torpy, Andy Whitley, Chris Fifes, and very importantly, Kevin Cassis.
Wow, that's where my knowledge in this reporting game is very small. I don't know how agents work in lacrosse. I don't know how agents work in real life. That's why I'm very excited you're here to discuss this and give that kind of information. With that being said, I feel like he basically called me a liar. And I was confident that the source I had was close enough where in my eyes, I was like, an agent would lie and say that to cover his guy, in my opinion. At least that's how I look at agents. They're going to ride for their guys. That's like as close as you can get. I feel like he's going to keep it in-house as much as possible. And the source I was getting information from, I was like, to me, there was no reason to lie. And I was so certain. And then when I just kind of saw a lot of Rumorville and no truth to this, and then some other guys were jumping on it. It wasn't just Inside Lacrosse. It wasn't a Nestler versus Inside Lacrosse, but it seemed to be a pile on that just like, hey, there's these rumors going around that were, blatantly started by one person. It went from like 5,000 views to 200,000 views fast. I'm sitting at my day job punching the keyboard, and so I was like, it was interesting to me that no one reached out and was like, hey, like, what is making you say this? Because do you want to know why
I didn't reach out?
Yes.
Okay. Because it would have been very difficult for me to, given that we didn't have a relationship, have a conversation without asking you the nature of your source, which I just wasn't going to do because that's not appropriate. Because when people ask me who my sources are, the answer is I can't tell you. And it's a really frustrating conversation for both parties. So, like, because I was thinking about it, that it was two-sided. The first is, like, I didn't have, like, a mechanism by which to say, like, hey, number one, like, well, let me take another step back. Do you think that me posting that Lars's agent says there is no truth to that rumor as of now is me calling you a liar?
No. I more so think I think it was more so. I think the general public perceived it. To be clear, anyone listening to this, I'm looking for haters. Like, I've been begging for haters, like, to be fully transparent. So I am looking for people to hate me. If you're out there, please come join. But however, it felt like when you put that out, there was an idea and not, I don't think from you directly. I think it's just a combination of my personality how I report on the game, how I tweet, just kind of how I am as a person tied to that. I was like, well, this guy's just full of shit. He's just like you say, he's just a D3 guy, gritty guy, drinking beers, tweeting about lacrosse, trying to climb up the ladder a little bit. And I don't think that was a shot from Terry Foy. I did feel that other people took that as ammo to take shots at me and be like, well, you're just full of shit.
I will concede that. But it is a lesson in the role that you play as a content creator. Like, when you put something out into the public, you don't have control of it anymore, right? Yeah. So whatever your intention is, like, that doesn't matter. What matters is the standalone nature of the content itself. Let me ask one more question in this realm of time. What did you make of Lars's comments that he expected to be the coach in 2027, which came in the wake of your tweet?
To me, to be completely honest, that was just end of season. Like, I'm saying the right things. I mean, I don't have full quotes right now, but I bet we could pull MLB, NBA, NFL coaches who have gone out and said similar things at end of the season, middle of the season, and then they're fired just like that. And I don't believe, and I still don't believe, that Lars Tiffany was confident he was like, at a bare minimum, if we were being honest, it should have been like, yeah, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen next year. Like, to be honest. So to me, when I saw the comment,
but that's an important,
excited about 2027. And then there were people talking about he's actually game planning. To me, it's like, well, that's just end of the season. They just got their hearts ripped out. It hasn't even been a week. He's going to say the right things. He's Lars Tiffany, for those listening. Like, he is, I'm well aware of how legendary of a lacrosse mind and person he is. That's why I kind of just tried to ignore the comments, to be honest, from Inside Lacrosse and from the agent. Because to me, if I'm Lars, all I'm doing is telling my guys, listen, I'm here. Like, we're good here. This is all good. It's roses here. But from everything I've heard from the insiders that are talking to me, and then even chatting with you and just the vibe on Twitter, it seems like a lot of alumni and a lot of current players and a lot of guys have spilled how messy it's been. And that's not my fault. That's a fault of the university and the team, and it speaks to the culture of that team. That's an internal issue that became public, and that I've just happened to get wind of it, and it's gone everywhere in the lacrosse circles, as I'm sure you know. And now it's becoming a little harder to tell what's true and what's not. But I do think that when he said that, I really didn't. I just didn't believe that what he said was necessarily true. I'm not calling Lars a liar. He's saying the right things. That's what you do as an athlete and a coach. It's like when I lose a game, I'm not going to go up there and be like, my defense sucked today. Oh boy, Lars's agent calling. We should have had him pick it up and hash it out live on the pod. I'll grant him access to edit it out if he wants. Oh my God, that's funny. You're gonna want to watch on YouTube now if you're not watching. I think you're on mute, Terry.
You're right. I was trying to prevent my dogs from barking. Sorry about that.
Can I
ask a couple more questions?
What were you saying?
Can I ask a couple more questions?
Yes, sir. I would love questions. I have plenty, but I would love to answer them.
Yeah, for sure. So so you established. So actually, you know what? I can't frame this as a question. I have to frame it as like, this is what I think the timelines of events was, and this is why I think that, like, if you were right the whole time, then you were right the whole time, or if you were early and ended up being right, then those two realities are kind of the same. Yeah. So what I believe, we know that Carla Williams, the AD at Virginia, was at ACC meetings from basically the moment that the Georgetown game ended through the week. Okay. So she had not met with Lars. Lars had his team meetings on Monday, Tuesday, and however later into the week and whatever. My interpretation of events is that, actually, you know what? I take it back. This is the question that I meant to ask, but I forgot. Did you know, because your initial tweet said that you were very surprised, did you know that he was out of contract that his contract was up at the end of the 26th season?
When I got this story, I was not nitty gritty. I was not in the weeds. I had no clue what was going on with Lars's contract. That's why when I got it, I was like, wait, what? And then I started looking on Twitter thinking it was already public.
Right.
And that's when I started to realize kind of like, oh, this is what's happening. And that's when but I didn't take, so I took my time. I said this last night on Lacrosse Network. For everyone wondering, I got it and I waited, and then I put out the rumor tweet saying, hey, I'm hearing a rumor out of Charlottesville. It's going to shock people. Like a bomb's going to drop credit Nest. And I was thinking like, that'll be fun when it drops. And I was like, well, I was like, I'm fairly certain that what this person is telling me is true. And I said this as well. The only other person I probably would have trusted more given the situation would have been if Lars just called me up and was like, hey man, I'm out. Yeah. So I didn't go searching for this. That's another reason it felt, I was so confident this isn't something I've been dipping my hand into trying to test out. This is something that came across my desk from the right source at the right time. And then the main reason I went public with it, besides confirming with them and shooting a few texts, was it felt weird for me to be the gatekeeper of a secret. To be like, sure, I have a big secret, and then everyone be like, what is it? Maybe I can't tell you. To me, that just goes against everything I stand for. I mean, I'm clicking record by myself. I'm posting. I got the intern now helping out. He's a legend. Shout out the intern. But like, I try to be for the people, and so I felt they need to know this.
Sure.
So I put it as plain and simple without using the word fired. Right. Because at that point, I knew it was a contract issue. And I also know what happens at the end of lacrosse contracts and how tight-knit the lacrosse world is and how a lot of people get involved with a lot of things. And seeing it at a high school level and a college level personally, and then knowing friends of programs who went through it, I knew how likely it was that this was true and how this might be a big mess. And then a few people even said, like, acted like I was crazy for saying it was news. That was the first hour. People were like, oh, if you think this is news, you've been living under a rock. I was like, it's won the ACC. Of course it's news to me.
Yeah.
So that is how I perceived it, to be 100% transparent. And that's why I was so confident, because I think that was one of the main factors was it wasn't something I was seeking an answer for.
Right. So just this is like a little bit of a peek behind the curtain in terms of like how I was trying to navigate the waters as the season was going on. So, you know, obviously like they didn't get off to the best start. And take it back to the 25 season. Like, I feel like I was the first to pour dirt on their season because like it became clear in like early April that there were just not enough quality wins left on the table, even if they ran the table, for them to make the NCAA tournament. So I was like, you know, they're screwed. They're not going to make it, whatever. So then last summer, you know, I knew that Lars was going into the last year of his extension. There were very few leverage opportunities for him to try to, you know, get an offer. So I was just talking to a lot of folks in the community. Obviously Penn opened and, you know, there was just a lot there. I didn't know whether he had gotten an extension. So after they lost to Towson, I reached out to John and I was like, did you guys get anything over the finish line? And I didn't hear back before we recorded. So I asked a couple other friends and they were just like, no, I don't think so. I think he's still in the last year of his deal. I was all right, fine. So that was when we talked about it on the podcast for the first time in the season. It was March 8th or 9th. I guess they played Towson on March 8th. So it was March 9th. And I mean, again, peek behind the curtain. I don't think this is like Larkin played for Lars so for 3 years. So, you know, he heard about it, right? Like not a surprise. But then they turned their season around and, you know, like a month later, 6 weeks later, I was just like, you know, and then Bresci got extended. And I was like, Lars deserves an extension. Like what he has done with this group in turning this around was so impressive and so unlikely that there's another candidate out there that should get it, that like he deserves it. But no announcement, right? And then they have this bad loss to Georgetown. And all of a sudden, the ball's in the air. And we're just like, what's going to happen? And that was the posture that I was in. So on that Tuesday, I was in a meeting at like 9, and I got a text at like 9:30 and it was from somebody within the program, right? Like, and again, with the desire to try to protect your sources, like let's define this as a player, a young alum, or the family member of a player. And they're like, "What's the news?" And again, I didn't get this because I was in a meeting. So like an hour, call it like 10:30, I call back and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Never mind. False alarm. Like somebody was telling like a bunch of people that Lars got fired, but then he was like, no, I jumped the gun. Not a big deal." I was like, all right, fine. And then over the course of the next like 6 hours, I probably had roughly 15 coaches and like text or call me being like, "What's going on?" And I attributed it exclusively to the MIAA semifinals. They were all together. And this is what happens with this community is that like everybody spreads the news internally and then it slowly turns into fact. But I had this like, pre-concept that like the rumor had been started and then recanted, right? So that was why like when your tweet came out, I was like, okay, it's very likely that this is emanating from a similar source, but I didn't know that to be true. And that's exactly why I didn't reach out. And it's also why I didn't want to effectively name you as like the source of the unconfirmed report, because I didn't want you to think that I was trying to throw you under the bus. I felt like I was in an awkward position of trying to like advance the story, like provide another source of context, which was a first party source. Like, and again, like, whether or not it's a truth or a lie, like I didn't know whether it was true or a lie. And so I couldn't correct it. I couldn't fact check it, but it was newsworthy. And that was why I put it out there. Right. So I'm not going to say that I didn't know that people were going to use it as like ammo against your initial report. It's wasn't what my intention was. I didn't want that to be what happened, but of course I knew it was going to happen. But at the same time, it also was not me saying, I don't think that there's a 100% chance he's going to be the coach in 2027. I probably could have added another tweet saying that, like, this is my perspective. It's still up in the air. Kind of felt like as of now was doing that work. But yeah, so that's my thing. I've kind of laid everything I've got out for you. So I'm
100%. I don't think, again, I felt a certain way about it, and I obviously fired off a couple fiery tweets. I don't delete tweets, so that's one of the reasons they're still up. But I was hot in the moment. It felt like I deserved a little credit, but when I sat back and looked a little bit, it made a little bit more sense. And talking to you, I see your perspective, and I also see that when I'm sitting at my desk tweeting from my phone, my biggest concern is Matt Nestler. And when you're sitting at your desk tweeting from your phone, your biggest concerns inside Lacrosse and Terry Foyd, and those are two different worlds and two different beasts. So it's two worlds, but I don't think what you did was a personal attack. But I also don't think if we went back and changed, like I think if I went back knowing that and still saw the tweets, I most likely would have still reacted the same way because I know how other people perceived it. And I guess it's all just a validation from our peers type of situation for me there.
No doubt. Well, I mean, yeah, I there's nothing I can say to that. Like, you're right. I totally, and that's also one of the reasons I wanted to come on and have this conversation. Cause it was like, there is no way for me to quote win this argument right on Twitter. Right.
Yeah.
Like everybody who is, like, the idea of you bringing this story is awesome and so appealing to the vast majority of people that follow this type of content, right? Like, if we do it, it's like, fine, you're supposed to, not a big deal. When you do it and it's your first time, like, people are like, oh, this is sick. And that's great. And it is. And that's why, like, like for me to come on and be like, hey, man, here's like the sticklerish point about like, why you may or may not have deserved credit is just like, get the fuck out of here, nerd. Like, nobody wants to hear that. So like, but that was why I was trying to say that it was nuanced. Like because here's like where like my mind is eventually ending up. And I'm going to use a really bizarre example. When Notre Dame joined the ACC, I think it was in 2014, it was a huge story, like one of the biggest stories in college sports that year. And I had it the night before because one of my friends was dating the university president's secretary. And like this, it's kind of like when, if you remember when UCLA Washington, USC, I don't remember, whoever the first group of teams that joined the Big Ten were, came from Swim, like not obscure, it's the biggest swimming publication, but still it came from swimming, not from ESPN. So where my mind goes is like, in order for you to have been right, because I don't think anybody involved with the team knew Carla Williams' decision until yesterday. So in order for you to have been right all along, my interpretation is that you needed to have knowledge of the inner workings of the highest levels of the department, right? So like you use the example, like if Lars called you and said I'm out, like it's still, to me, that wouldn't have been validation because he didn't know, in my opinion. Like that is what I think is true. I don't know. That very well could be your source, and that's where it's just like not for me to assume who your source is, and I'm not going to ask you.
Yeah, that I think that's fair. I mean, and basically, yeah, I think what you said there makes sense on your end, and then on my end, we're seeing it two different ways, which is totally understandable. In you have the journalistic side of looking at it, and the way you've reported on things for years, and I have my scrambled egg brains way of looking at it, and that's totally fine. I think agreeing to disagree there is it makes sense because we're gonna look at it two different ways on what validates being right versus being wrong. But I think we're on the same page as far as like the timeline of this story, how it was happening. I just think, to me, do you think tweeting there was no truth? Like I guess looking back on it now, my biggest issue is it seems a little bit to me like you knew there might be a lot of fucking smoke here. And then his agent just comes in and it's kind of like, no, there's no truth. And I guess my biggest gripe there was just if I was getting wind, like I knew you guys were. And so to me it was like to me it felt like the worst kept secret in Charlottesville by the time the no truth came out. And then at that point Malasek's just firing off fucking bullshit. And he's going,
what's the deal there?
Lars signs an extension. It's like, well, now those two kind of slam together, and it's like, that's where I was just left kind of high and dry. I was like, all right, well, the best way to make up for it is slam dunk. Nestler broke the story. We're good. And then story comes out. Don't get the credit. I bring my swords out, dice it up. Couple hours go by. We hash it out. Swords down.
Sure.
And now we're reviewing everything. And I see your perspective pretty clearly. And I'm just making sure the world and everyone sees mine, including yourself. And I think those are both fair points.
Totally. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, if we go all the way back to the start of the conversation, you asked, do I think you broke the story? And the answer is yes, because what you reported is true. So there's no disputing it. Now, it's funny because, so I want to compliment you in two ways. The first is, so you made the comment, like, I think you said you're either 1 for 1 or 1 and 0. With the 0 presuming being like getting it wrong, right? And I've only gotten a hand, like I've lost a lot of scoops because I don't want to be wrong. I've only been wrong a couple times. The highest profile report that I remember being wrong was one of the most miserable experiences that I mean professionally. Well, that's not true, but it was a pretty miserable experience. So we reported that. Hopkins was joining the Big Ten as an affiliate, and Big Ten Lacrosse was being created. And it was a Sunday afternoon in the summer, and I was visiting my parents in Cleveland, and I'd been reporting it for the class day or whatever, and we press save, and then I get in the car and I drive home in 6 hours, right? So it's like I can't touch anything. It's terrifying. And we had reported that Johns Hopkins women's team was joining the Big Ten as well, and there's a press conference the next day. We go to it. Our women's editor, who's awesome and I still adore, was there. And it becomes clear within 10 minutes, the women's team isn't joining, right? And we had just gotten bad intel. 80%, 90% of the story was right, but here's this very important 10%. And I just remember feeling like this was 2013 or 14, whatever it was. I was like, yeah, that was my fault. I made that mistake, and we got the report wrong, and I got to learn that lesson, own it, soak it, and, move on. And the thing that sucked about that situation was that, this other woman had put her name on it because she had trusted me. And as a result, I had damaged her, credibility and reputation. And now, it was incumbent on me to help, rectify that situation. That's just the first thing, right? But the compliment is the diamond hands part, because to not really, fold or cave over the course of a week, especially when it's your first one. Oh my God. I can only imagine just the terrible feeling in your stomach, right? Or are you immune to that? Because if you are, like, that's a special gift.
No, there was so the biggest thing was I was never worried until Jake Malice.
Yeah, what's the story with that?
I got to give a shout out to Jake Malice. So Malice's very tied in with the UVA lacrosse program.
Yep.
He's if anyone out there isn't familiar with Jake Malasek, works at Barstool Sports. He was I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he was a personality, and then he became Gruden's right-hand man. And Jake Malasek is an unbelievable lacrosse player. He plays for the Czech national team. He's played lacrosse his whole life, loves the game. He's been introducing John Gruden to the sport of lacrosse. So John Gruden
and doing an unbelievable job.
Yeah, and it's been unbelievable. They've been crushing it. But Malasek's always been a lacrosse junkie, and he's always been tuned in. He's kind of always had intel, and he's just always been close to the game, especially the UVA program. And all of a sudden, I bring him on just to talk life and UVA lacrosse, and then the next week this happens. And so me and him are trading jabs, and he's adamant that he's not getting fired. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, I'm sorry, he is. They're not getting fired. They're not renewing his contract.
Right.
And so he comes back to me with a guy who's basically saying, similar to what I said, like, I would have only trusted Lars more himself. And then he puts out a bombshell, like, breaking news, Lars signs an extension. Malisek's been doing this a lot longer than me, and he's way looser, and he's got way less to lose in the lacrosse world than I do. And he just throws that out there. So now I'm sitting there like, well, this is impossible. So I had to just remember there's no way this gets announced like that. And a UVA post or Inside Lacrosse or a picture of him in the office signing an extension, like this is going to come out. So I made a comment on it, and then the next day I was like, this guy's full of shit. And that's when I kind of realized Malasek might have been yanking my chain. I'm going to have to talk to him to find out how much of it was just him trying to just make me sweat. He was really the only one getting me worried.
Is he getting roasted right now? Because it feels like he flew below the radar a little bit.
Completely unscathed. No one's gotten away with a falser report. But it's insane. It's honestly remarkable. But I do feel the reason I'm not ganging up on Malasek is because, one, we were chopping it up back and forth the whole time, and there was a lot of communication between me and him. And two, he got his heart ripped out. He wanted Lars back. Like, more than anything, he loves Virginia lacrosse. He knows it was a horrible decision. He's just worried about the future of his program. He bleeds Cavalier sports. So
yeah,
well, shout out Malasek and Gruden down there in Florida. But I do think we've hashed out a lot. I think you had potentially one more part or one more question. I wasn't sure if I cut you off, but I did want to interject a little there.
I mean, I'm good on everything as far as like the reporting goes. I mean, you know, there's kind of, I don't know, one thing that I would say, just because I want to be able to point to the fact that I said it, the fact that it's 33 and a half minutes in makes it pretty disingenuous. But like, I mean, one of the things you made the point that like when I'm like writing, tweeting, reporting, whatever, like I'm thinking about Inside Lacrosse and Terry Foy, and like obviously that's true to an extent, but you know, one of the things that I tell our staff all the time is, well, there's kind of two and they're related. So the first is that like we don't compete for content. That like any individual scoop, any individual cool piece of content, whatever, like there's always the next one, and our differentiator has to be our ability to create the next one, right? So it's like, even if somebody else gets a scoop or posts an awesome piece of content, like that's great. That's great for the lacrosse community. We do not want to have a monopoly on good lacrosse content, right? Especially with a website that looks like ours currently does. The second element is we are not the story. Like, we tell other people's stories. And as a result, we have to bear that responsibility with the weight that it is, right? And obviously it corresponds to exactly how weighty the story is. One of the things that goes along with that is like, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have this conversation on your platform. It's like, take the work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously, right? I'm sure that's something you hear all the time. Yeah. And so when you say like, I'm thinking about Inside Lacrosse, or I'm thinking about myself and I'm doing, I'm like, well, no, I'm kind of thinking about Lars's daughter and how she's going to respond or feel like I had this experience. Like I walked into, this is an unbelievable story. So Dave Cottle gets fired quarterfinal Sunday. He lost in the quarterfinals on Saturday in 2010 and got fired on Sunday. And it's really hard to tell a story without disclosing who the person is. But I walk into, if you've ever been to Federal Hill in Baltimore, Noe Jose was an epic bar that, RIP Noe Jose. So I walk into Noe Jose after the second game ends, and I was just talking to my friends, and I was telling them, because we had just reported, broken the news or reported the news, whatever, that Dave had gotten let go. And this girl was standing next to me. She's like, that didn't happen. And I was like, yes, it did. Like, it's on like our website right now. And it turns out like her dad was an assistant coach, and that was how she found out. And like, that's not like, that is like, that's our job. Right. And so you got to own it. But at the same time, like, you also have to understand, like, these things have consequences and they have weight. And like, there is a balance there, right? You have to serve the audience. That's like your primary, like, responsibility, objective, goal, whatever. But at the same time, you can do it in a way that is respectful of the humanity of the people that you're reporting on, and not treat them like characters that don't have any humanity. And I don't think that my hope is that this conversation doesn't come across that way to those people. If it did, I wouldn't have it. But I just wanted to make that point, because I think it's really useful when it comes to, especially like the cesspool that most of this conversation happens on, right? I just hope that like the people who are the subjects like avoid it. Because it's not a good place.
I think one that's an important story. I don't want anything to get lost in this where what I tweeted and what I did was, I think Lars Tiffany's a legend, and someone had said to me in the beginning, similar you said, like, listen, there's other people on the other end of this, and I do get that, and I do stand the main reason I do understand that words travel fast, and I never would want to be in the situation you mentioned where I'm breaking news to someone about someone in their life. That seems scummy. I was confident, luckily, being who I am, that I was like, if this information is coming to my plate at this point in time, I was confident that had happened surrounding his family, if this information is reaching my desk. However, in a world where it hadn't, obviously, that'd be a hand-up situation, but it's
not your responsibility.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had some Virginia alums like coming at me. It's like, I love Lars. I think Lars Tiffany is a great coach. I don't root against Virginia lacrosse a lot. I think Virginia's great. I'm a massive fan. I think Brendan Millen's the next chosen one. I think his older brother's unfathomable to the sport of lacrosse. And these guys are coming at my neck as if I'm the one that fired their coach. And I do understand part of it is that I'm running a bit of a victory lap while their coach got fired. And I get that they would be pissed about that. But at the same time, like, if I'm running this victory lap and you're so upset about the athletic department, how it's handled, like, if you're out there listening, like, give me a comment. Yeah, I'll keep you anonymous. I mean, all these guys would rather bitch and complain to me, which I get. But also, I mean, save it. Like, I didn't fire your coach, and I wish he didn't get fired. I think Lars Tiffany is a legend. I think it was a mistake from Virginia. And I can't reiterate that enough, that the part of it got twisted a little bit with it being like, I'm not saying you said this, but the idea that I was kind of just dismissing Lars, and it wasn't that. It was more so I was trying to fire off a tweet at work. But I think it is important now where the story is, and part of the reason I wanted to end, on Lars's next steps and touch on what Lars has done great at Virginia is because the story no longer needs to be, hand up, I was right, run my victory lap. The story should be about the incompetence at Virginia. I guess who's next at Virginia head coach. But it should be about where Lars is going next and celebrating what he's done in Virginia, because he's one of the most legendary coaches of my lifetime. I can't speak on the years of lacrosse before I was born, but he's a legend of the game. I don't want that getting twisted at all. So any UVA pricks that are coming at my neck, just fucking get my phone number and text me. Stop coming at me from burners.
Why are there so many lacrosse burners? Does every other niche have this many burners?
I don't know. To me, so here's my I'm in and out on the burnerverse. I love the good burners. I love burners that root. If you root for someone and hate something on the other side, that's fine. If you only hate from a burner, that's where I draw the line. If you only exist to hate as a burner, you suck. If you're a Red Sox fan and you just go on Twitter and shred Yankees fans while cheering for the Red Sox, you're a good burner. Like that's okay. That's fine. You're blowing off steam. You're owning a team. But if you're just a guy who tweets anonymously, like chirping and shredding, and then like I write back and be like, well, who's your team? Or like, where are you from? And you're like, yeah, you wish. It's like, oh, we're just never going to interact. Like there's no, you can't get anything out of that. So to me, that's where the cowards are, the guys who only hate. But I do love the guys that get in the mud. If you're a burner getting in the mud and you have a squad or you rep a little bit of pride from that burner, I can get in your corner, no problem. But there's a lot of just scummy lax burners.
So, I think we all have developed like a pretty good ability to detect a bot versus a legit burner. And the thing that just strikes me as so bizarre are like the super smart, really well-reasoned burners. It's just like why do you not want your name associated with this incredibly thought out opinion? Like,
I agree.
I'm on here with takes that aren't nearly that good, and my government name is attached to it. It makes no sense. Whatever. I've become legit. I've become friends with some of these burners, in this like social world. Well, yeah, I mean, like parasocial is the word I was going for there, and it feels like I'm like communicating with ChatGPT because I have no idea like who this counterparty is, but at the same time, I'm like giving them information that like I wouldn't, tell a lot of people that I know who they are. It's just bizarre.
It's Twitter's an interesting world. I've learned that. I've always been on Twitter, but I didn't really get into the nitty gritty till like 2022 ish. Yeah, and that was when I started to realize like what was going on. I do love Twitter. I think it's a great spot because you can spread positive vibes. You can talk about the game. All sports are cool on Twitter. And you get to come on here and hash out some good old Twitter beef and some good old reporting. I learned a lot. I learned some reporting beef. I learned a lot, Terry. I do appreciate you coming. I think people will love the behind the curtains look. I have told you I put my swords down. I've told a lot of people I put my swords down. I'm an inside lacrosse lover. There's a reason I was defending the wall early in the season. I've always gone there for my scores. I've always gone there for my articles. I used to get the Inside Lacrosse magazine. I'll take a free subscription for a year.
Oh, yeah. Good call. For sure. 100%.
Before I let you go, I do have one last question. Peeling back the clock 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer. Elite goaltending play hailing out of Chatham, New Jersey. The 2 to the number 1 goalie in the state, backing up Colin Kirst at leading edge. The guy who won a state championship, the guy who started for 3 years at one of the most prestigious public schools in the state. I might have to do a deep dive. I don't know if my name was ever written in the Inside Lacrosse world. I will make a note before people get on me for bitching and complaining. Recruiting has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And I think if I played nowadays, my name would be an Inside Lacrosse. However, has this been like a long con by you? Are you just an anti-Nestler guy, perchance?
So I want to address the most recent point, which is that if you were a class of 2027 Chatham goalie backup for leading edge, there is no question that I would have evaluated you at the Primetime Invitational last year. Probably giving you like, I don't know, like what are we thinking? Like an 84 or something like that? Maybe an 85. It depends on if you had a good day. The long con, I mean, so the most read story in the history of InsideLacrosse.com, do you know which one it is?
I have a guess.
Which one?
I was going to guess. I don't know if it was you guys. Was it the Timmy Brooks story?
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out Timmy Brooks.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so it's hard for me to be like, I don't know that we gave enough love to Cabrini. So you're saying that you feel like your name was never in there from a Cavaliers standpoint or just the high school level? Because the high school stuff has definitely evolved dramatically over the last 10 years. The high school
stuff's off. I think it was more of a recruiting issue that I think this is more I probably should have gotten Ty Zanders on the line here and been like, yo, what was the beef with?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, he must have been a Crabs guy. Those guys were going to every school in the country. I mean, we're
BBL.
talking names. I mean, these guys were fifth-string goalies for 4.5 years in college. I mean, I hope they enjoyed sitting on the bench, their season peaking in April, losing by 6 in the championship game of your conference tournament. You almost got a conference ring, all you guys that went D1 and sat on the bench, but I'm proud of you guys. Ty Sanders, you owe me a write-up. Terry, I really appreciate you coming on. If you have anything you want to plug, say, tell me to fuck off, anything you want to do before you head out, I do appreciate your time, man, and hashing out like gentlemen.
Yeah, no doubt. The Cleveland Cavaliers have developed a 20-point lead while we've been recording this.
Yeah.
So I just want to give a shout out to the Cavs, everybody except for James Harden.
I respect the hell out of that. We're going to, fellas, we're going to do a inside Nestler's brain a little bit potentially. If we don't, and this is where the episode ends, we will be keeping it low to high till the day we die. We out.